Have you ever felt so exhausted and drained that you're left questioning if you're burning out? Hi, I'm Flic Taylor, and my passion for burnout and self-care came about when I became a mental health writer who'd lost her mental health to extreme burnout. I know, the irony is not lost on me. Join me as I host Everyday Burnout Conversations, the honest podcast that shares the stories of others from all walks of life as they recover from, manage and avoid burnout by prioritising their mental health and well-being. Expect to hear fascinating conversations, plus positive and actionable tips and tricks that can help you make the simple life changes your mental health will thank you for. Episodes will be delightfully wrapped up in some epic truths and great humour. So, enjoy! Today I share an everyday burnout conversation with Yvadney Davis. Yvadney is a freelance fashion stylist, an artist and founder of Mums That Slay. After completing her Central St Martin's fashion degree, she began working in PR before switching to a career in fashion styling. Now, what started out as a hashtag to celebrate mums expressing their sense of style and self-love, Mums That Slay grew into an incredible Instagram and blog community, encouraging mums to enjoy getting dressed up with a weekly style challenge called Dope Friday. Yvadney is also the co-founder of Mums That Rave with DJ Nikki Beatnik. Mums That Rave is a panel and rave event community for women who like to work hard and party hard. Recently, Yvadney took up painting in the first lockdown of 2020. As a granddaughter of the Windrush generation, her beautiful paintings capture the human image and self-expression, focusing on the unrecognised sensuality of middle-aged women and Black British Caribbeans. They are, oh my gosh, they're absolutely incredible paintings. So, exquisite and an absolute must to discover. In this episode, Yvadney chats to me about balancing motherhood and freelancing as a stylist while safeguarding space and time for herself and her art. She shares her recent brush with burnout that she proactively managed with the help of some close friends, along with the brilliant self-care toolkit she uses and relies on to help her stay physically and mentally strong. Now, I've adored following Yvadney's work for the past 5 years, and so I hope you enjoy this chat as much as I did. So without further ado, here's the absolutely fabulous and gorgeous Yvadney Davis. Oh, Yvadney, it's so lovely to have you here today. Such a treat. Thank you so much for your time. And I can't wait to kind of unpack burnout with you, just because I know like your life blend is, you're a mum and you're freelance stylist. I know you've done some teacher training and an incredible artist. And you've got a lot going on, and so yeah. I'm just really curious, and I'd love to hear your story of the things you've done to help yourself, if you've had any brushes with burnout. I'd just love to hear your story.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I would say I have, being someone who lives so passionately, like I'm very driven by my heart, which is why I end up doing these things. And even if it is just for a season, it's like that brought me so much joy, and it's been a really good conduit for like expression and things, like my gifts and things that I'm into. But in doing all of that while having, like, my children are a bit older now, so they're a bit more self-sufficient, but certainly when they were younger, there have been multiple brushes with burnout. And over the years, I have learned the tools to kind of rein it back and get that balance back. But certainly when I started out in my freelance life, I thought, coming from like a PR, like a fashion PR background, where PR used to be one of the top 10 most stressful jobs. When it would get the list, you'd get like work in the army, be a PR. And it's like, really? But yeah, it was super stressful. And that mindset of just doing anything, getting it done, working late, like never switching off. I took that mentality into my freelance life. And so I was starting out with like a baby and trying to do shoots. And so I was basically neglecting myself. But over the years, you know, like I've introduced different things. So journaling, like, is one of them. And
Yes.
saying, you know, and like getting it all out in journaling, making sure that I exercise. I don't just exercise for the aesthetics. I exercise because I want to be strong and I can like let it out. It's such a good release. And it makes me feel powerful. Dancing, you know, like just, yeah, I have like a Bluetooth speaker that I have in my shower, and I like have my feel good tunes, and I just pump it up loud and I get it all out and just have a little dance with nice like aromatherapy smells. Like, it's a whole thing. I really am into, I would say in all of these things, it comes down to self-care, and not just what works for everyone, but what works for me and what
Yes.
makes me feel good.
Yes, that's a huge
Yeah.
part, isn't it? It's not
Yeah.
just the Pinterest board
Oh
or
gosh, no.
bubble bath or whatever. It
Yeah.
is what works for you. And it's
Yeah.
interesting you say about exercise, because that's something I completely neglected in my burnout.
Mm.
I was very much like, oh, I can't get off the sofa, not alone move. And the more I learn about burnout, the more actually exercise is a huge part of recovery and
Yeah.
prevention. Yeah.
I think exercise, you know, it gives you confidence. You start off, you never regret doing something, and it's about consistency. So even if it is a 10-minute cycle, or, you know, I certainly in lockdown, I missed just doing the school run, just walking to school, and the walk back. Like, there are so many different ways to just move your body, and exercise allows you to do that. But, you know, like before all of this pandemic started, I had just really got into weightlifting and like strength training, and that was going into the scary areas of the gym that I never thought that I was going to be able to go into, and like lifting big heavy weights. I loved it. I really enjoyed it. It made me feel powerful. And I just think, yeah, it's funny, the more you exercise, the more energy you have. I don't think you need to be doing it like for hours a day, but, you know, like even if it is just 10 minutes, or dancing to a song and getting a sweat and your adrenaline going, feel good endorphins. It's, yeah,
It's getting
you
rid of
sleep.
that cortisol, isn't it? That,
Yeah,
like surging through your body.
yeah, and you sleep
And
better if
yeah,
you've had a good workout. You
it's
sleep
so
well.
true.
Yeah.
It's so true. You just feel better all round.
Mm.
But it's kind of the thing that you're like, oh, that's the last thing I want to do.
Yeah.
You can make yourself do it. You're going to feel so much better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Oh, and so what kind of things would you say lead you to kind of dance and get close with burnout?
I think my job as a stylist is very physical. So, you know, you're lugging heavy suitcases. You get on set, you're lugging big suitcases up and down a hill, up and down, you know, like a cliff, or in a studio upstairs. You're then standing on your feet for, like the other day I did a shoot and I've got my watch that tells me how long I was standing 15 hours that day. I was on
Oh,
my feet
blimey.
standing. You're squatting down, you're dealing with kids, you're chasing after them, you're running back and forth. So it's physical. Now, if that's a one-day shoot, it's fine. If you're doing that for 2 weeks and you're a big campaign shoot, you're knackered and you're starting early, you're finishing late. So it's the physical demands of my job that, if there are like loads and loads of jobs that have come in, and it's hard when it's you're freelance, because you don't want to turn things away. And there are times of the year where it will become busier, you know, it's Christmas shoots, it's back to school, it's, you know, autumn, winter. And it's those seasons when I then throw in, like, you know, I've got a commission on my paintings, I've got to get that done, or I've got to, you know, get an essay done. You know, I've finally finished studying, but throwing in like going back to study again with my physical job and the kids, and, you know, like all of that kind of stuff, the chores, the housework,
Yeah,
that's when I get close to burnout,
yeah,
because
yeah.
you just feel overwhelmed.
Yeah, it's hard to blend all of those together.
Hmm.
And so what kind of boundaries do you put in place?
So one thing that I try to do is, certainly with work, I know I say I don't turn things down, but I won't just do anything.
Oh,
And
yes.
I've got to the stage where I have said no to things.
Yeah.
And my ideal goal being like, this is, this is the life that I've created for myself through many sacrifices, but I can work 2 weeks of a month and be good. That's all I need to
Yes.
do.
Yes.
And it may mean that I'm not doing every single job out there, and I'm not busy, but I don't wear like hustle hard badge. Like, that's not a badge of honor
It really isn't, is
for
it?
me.
No.
Yeah.
And it's,
So
I think from the
yeah,
PR days, and certainly I've worked in startup, that it is a badge of honor. And
yeah.
it's very, I don't know about you, but I had a hard time transitioning to working for myself and not being really mean, not being that
Mm,
tyrant boss, because I was just
yeah.
so programmed to do it. And it's, yeah, it's
Yeah.
tricky.
Burning the candle at both ends, like you do PR, you'd actually have finished all your work, but you didn't want to look like you didn't have anything to do. So you'd create more things, more things on the to-do list. And so you could, show that you've stayed at work late, all of that kind of stuff.
Oh, no.
And actually that's not a life that I want to live.
No.
So yeah, it's saying no to things, finding space for my art. And I think that's it. It's like, even when you are feeling really knackered, if you do say, I'm just going to give myself half an hour to paint. And sometimes now I don't even sit down to paint. I'll sit down with just a piece of paper and a box of crayons and just draw and sketch. Do you know
Oh,
what I mean? It's almost like the coloring in books.
yeah.
But yeah, just having that time, like sometimes on a shoot, if you're away with a crew, and just saying, you know what, guys, I'm gonna have an early night tonight. I'm not going to stay out and drink. I'm going to go to bed now. And
Yeah.
reading before bed.
Right.
Just
Impressed.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I really, and I would love to talk more about your art now, because this is something you started in lockdown, and I
Yeah.
absolutely adore your I kind of crave those Instagram stories. I'm going to sound like a complete fangirl now, but when you do your stories and you're like, I'm going to paint this weekend, that conch out, I was just like mesmerized. It was stunning and incredible. And so I'd love for you to talk about your art and how you came back to painting after many years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was always the drawer. That, I think drawing has been my first love.
Yeah.
And, if you speak to my mum, that's all I was ever doing. I'd be hiding under a table drawing, when it was time to go to nursery. I would just doodle. Even I'm friends with my maths teacher on Facebook, and she commented on one of my paintings recently. She was like, it's better than the Mr. Blobby doodles you did around your maths homework. And, like, I love drawing, and I did A level, and I had a fantastic teacher who is an incredibly talented and celebrated artist in his own right, but knew I wanted to go into fashion design. And I knew I wanted to go to St. Martin's. I went to Central St. Martin's. It was awful, and I kind of it completely shut down any confidence I had in being creative, because when you are a creative, you're saying, I have created something, this is my voice, here, what do you think? Or you're taught there, you say, here, what do you think? And then that opens up for people to say, it's crap, you're crap, da, 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 da. Whereas now, like in years later, if I put things out, there is an element of wanting people to say, oh, we love it, but also I'm like, this is it, that's it.
This is
Like,
what I
it's
created.
different. Yeah, I don't need the validation. It's like, this is what I've done, that's the end of the sentence. There's
Yeah.
no, yeah. So yeah, it took a long time, and it took a really long time for me to go back to painting specifically. So I had started getting back into styling after changing my career. And then in lockdown, I just wanted to do something with the kids. So I had some pastels we sat in the garden and I was like, hey kids, let's just draw what we see. And so, I wanted to be a good role model for them. So I got a piece of paper as well. And I was like, oh, I can see the trees. I was doing it and I was like, oh, this is really good. Like, I really enjoy this. And then I just did one of them, and did one of me. And I was sharing it on my stories and people were like, oh, this is so great. And then someone said, do you sell your work? And I was like, no, and then one of my things that I love doing was life drawings. I love looking at the female body.
Yeah.
So I just sort of sent a message out to a few friends and I was like, can you send me nude pictures of yourself? So I got all these nudes from mates and it just kind of started from there. And that, as I said, I have a certain kind of lifestyle that I want and this idea of passive income and waking up and having earned some money was a really great thing. It was a nice way to kind of share what I love doing and also, help towards finances and all that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, I just decided I was going to launch a art shop selling prints of some of my paintings, and invested lots of money. I wanted it to be a really good printer, really good proper art scanner. And I hit, I said the website is live, and within the first hour I had sold 11 paintings and I was in floods of tears. I couldn't speak. And I felt so much, it was like all of those years of people saying, that's crap, you're crap. It was like all gone, it didn't matter. And I realized that it was all crap in that moment. It had taken me, 15 years to kind of realize that everything was founded on, just people's egos and their own issues, nothing to do with my talent. And I just haven't looked back. I had a commission and just the feedback to how that made her feel. Like it made her feel like a goddess, and it's just gone from there really. And it's not something I want to do full time. I like that balance of having the styling, which when I complete a job or when I do a magazine shoot, I come home and I'm like, yeah, boy, like, yeah. But if I finish a painting, it's just like a euphoria. It's like a joy. It's very zen. And I like that balance of like hyper and full on and just serenity.
Oh, I love that. I mean, anyone listening, we'll put all your details in the show notes, but I'm telling listeners right now, go after this, go look at Yvadney's art. It's incredible. I can remember reading a social media post where your mum was really happy.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah. And
so mums know this stuff, don't they? Like with my mum just wants me to be happy and she's known me more than I know myself. And the same with my kids. Like if there's stuff that I see in them now and I would be heartbroken if they felt that they didn't deserve to kind of do it. So yeah.
It's I don't know about you as a mum, but it's heartbreaking if any kids criticize my kids. I just like, but then the irony is I will listen to other people criticize, and I'm not talking about the criticism for growth. I'm all for growth. I'm all for I'm always wanting to learn and perfect the craft, as it were. Like you just want to, but I listen to other people when really those aren't the ones to be listening to.
No.
And I just think, it's amazing you come back to your art now, but it's really interesting. I was talking to Antonia Taylor and she said that when we're not aligned, that can sometimes lead to burnout.
Yeah.
And, I just think it's fascinating that you come back to your painting at a time when you're in lockdown and you're trying to manage your kids, you're trying to look at work and stuff. I just think it's so good that you're able to shove that imposter syndrome aside, because it's a great thing to do.
Yeah, you really are bearing your soul out there, like I put everything into each painting, but it felt like an act of like survival because it is so therapeutic for me and healing, and it is completely expressive. Like I'm creating and telling stories and it felt necessary.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I would have got through lockdown without doing it.
Isn't it funny? In lockdown, I was reading Austin Kleon's books. he's a really cool artist, and he kind of talks a lot about creativity. And he was saying how we should just be creating because we want to, as opposed to trying to box it and look and it become, as you say, another kind of it's good to have that stream of income, but when it's orders, another almost chore to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And those are the times, there are times when I have painted because it was a chore, like I needed to get something done, or, you know, but I try not to paint because I'm thinking, how will people respond to this? If I feel like I'm in that mindset, I won't paint.
Right.
And that's why there are times when, rather than, I will just get a piece of paper and some crayons and just doodle, rather than, you know, like painting, because it's different.
Yes, you're just creating.
You need to just be a kid.
Yes, it's so true. It's so true. And I think, you know, a lot of women our age, like, you know, we're bringing up our children, we're managing our careers, and you know, when it's freelance, it's tough, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think we need to carve out those times for us. Yeah. Now, we talk about your mum. Did your mum ever model kind of self-care moments to you, or kind of boundary setting things for her?
I don't know. I remember my mum we're very similar. And I think as a kid, like, one thing I remember her doing is just putting on her massive headphones, connecting it to the hi-fi, and singing really loudly, and like dancing around the living room. She used to do a lot of ballet and contemporary dance at school, so she would just like break out into contemporary dance to whatever she played really loudly. And I respect that, because that, you know, that is, you know, freedom and movement and all of those things that you know, I mentioned earlier. But I do remember in the 90s when, you know, that was the kind of peak of self-care books. And so my mum had like The Artist's Way and like all of those kind of classic books, and journaling, and she'd write poetry. She's always written poetry, and knitting. And so, she's very tactile.
Gosh, that's
In terms of,
incredible. That's amazing that you saw that. And now you're doing it with your kids. Because I remember listening to an interview on the Imposters Club with you, and you'd said that you refused to take in the pressure of homeschooling. And so you would do your own schooling. You'd be so, you know, doing your art and creating. And
like we were able to do maths through art, and English through, you know, math through cooking, through trying to make our own flatbread, and measuring and weighing, and, you know, all of those kind of things. There were just so many different ways of doing it, and learning how to ride a bike. Like things like that, going out into the, you know, we've got woods nearby us, and just looking at, you know, the kids pointing out different plants that they knew. And that was more important to me in terms of their mental health in lockdown than trying to tick all the boxes of school. The second lockdown was awful, I think, nationwide, because all schools were making it quite mandatory that we got through this work, and it was too much, you know.
It was intense. It was intense,
it was.
And very you know, I'm a big believer, like anything we do, little eyes are always watching us. And I think, you know, you kind of want to model to them the things, you know, you don't sweat the small stuff. And I mean, I was kind of a mum who kind of said to my kids, listen, I will always care how you do. Well, I will always want to support you in what you do. But we're not looking at grades this year. We're just getting through it. We're just
exactly.
What are you interested in? So that's fantastic. Oh, amazing, Yvadney. Amazing. It's burnout, so it's interesting, isn't it? Because I personally think you don't even know you're kind of cruising towards it. It kind of takes almost an outside perspective. I think a lot of people, and certainly women, similar to us are kind of cruising towards burnout without realizing.
I didn't realize, and I was very close recently apparently, and I wasn't aware. I was just like, I'm really tired, and sometimes I feel like I'm drunk, like I am so tired that it's foggy and I feel a bit woozy and I'm exhausted and I just want to like lie down because I just don't have that energy. And and like my eyes, like as if you've been up all night with a newborn. And my friend said, I think you're close to burnout. It's like, oh, okay.
I know
what it feels like, eh?
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? It's we're so busy doing it. It's almost, do we need permission from someone else to see? I think the things that you're saying and the journaling and, prioritizing yourself and taking time and carving out that time to do something you love just because you love it, as opposed to it producing something or having, any pressure on it.
Yeah. Really, and as well, having people around you, like having I've got really good networks of cheerleaders who you just need to be open and honest with people sometimes and hear different perspectives, and also sometimes to hear what's not normal and what is normal, to know that you're not alone. Or certainly in my industry there are real highs. There are months when it's just madness and they're like you could just not work for a month or two because it's just suddenly then that's a real chill down, and you use that time to rest and recover. But just it's about a network and being honest with yourself and other people.
Yeah, absolutely. And just not feeling so alone in trying to manage everything. It was interesting. I had a friend contact me recently after listening to some of the podcast episodes, and she said that herself and her family had been struggling, and when she talks to friends they're all just kind of saying, how are you? I'm fine, I'm great. She said, oh my god, we're all lying.
We are.
Only we could be honest with ourselves. But it's not easy, is it? It's not easy. No, I could talk to you all day. I really could. This has been fantastic. Now, I have been asking guests some quick fire, light-hearted questions.
Oh, cool.
Because it's really interesting. Everyone answers differently.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, on your dodgy, tough days, do you go for lemon in water or lemon in gin? Where do you get your vitamin C?
Can I be honest?
Yeah.
I know I'm like breaking all mum's rules. I'm not a fan of gin.
It's like
I don't get it.
Years ago, didn't it? Like
I think
gin.
Yeah, I don't mind rhubarb gin, but my mum used to make cakes and she would attach the royal icing to the cake by coating it with gin. That's how you stick it on. Yeah, so for me, it's just like a glue.
Like, why are we drinking adhesive? Just give me the cake.
Yeah, so I'll say lemon and soda water, whatever, but with a splash of CBD.
Oh, lovely. There you go. Fantastic. Now, do you move your body or move the remote?
Move my body.
Yeah. Get rid of that cortisol. Are you a bag of almonds or a bag of Maltesers?
Dairy free, so almonds.
Almonds, you're like, for God's sake. And I don't want that cake with the gin on it either. I don't do glue anymore.
If there were vegan Maltesers, definitely vegan Maltesers. There's vegan Kit Kat now, so there's hope it's coming. Oh yeah, and Bounty, yeah.
Huh. Well done, good for them.
It's coming.
That's smart.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's about time.
Smart. Yeah, it is. Huh. Okay. Do you ask for help or are you happy to hermit?
Oh, I'm happy to hermit. I'm happy to go in and do my things that I know.
I think you've got a real good toolkit though.
Yeah.
If
I didn't, I would. Yeah.
And from my perspective, I'm like, oh, your mum did an amazing job. I only just last year discovered the Artist's Way.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
Oh, I think you've got an amazing toolkit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very happy in my own company to just do the things, get it done.
Especially when you have a big social job.
Yes.
Like it's nice to just come home.
Yeah.
I'm such an introvert in that way.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, people drain me. I just need to lie here and do my
own thing.
Yeah. And lastly, what's the one thing in the name of self-care that you're going to do today that your future self will thank you for?
I think I might give myself a nice salt bath tonight. I don't have baths often. I always say I'm going to do it all the time and I don't. But I've been working out quite a bit, like doing some new weights and things. So
good for the muscle.
Nice, Epsom salts.
Yeah.
A few drops of something like lavender.
Yeah. Do you meditate in the bath? Do you?
No.
No. Do you just kind of chill?
No. Vibesy music. Sometimes a glass of wine.
Yeah.
And nice music, glass of wine and a book. Ooh. And I look at my toenails and think, you need to paint those.
I was
relax
this morning. I was like,
it's been raining here, so no one's needed to see my feet.
It's true. It's not sandal. It's not a sandal day. We can go another day. Oh, Yvadney, thank you so much for your time. This has been amazing to chat to you, and I really think like the things you shared with us today is going to help a lot of people out there. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Absolute pleasure.
Okay, you take care. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Everyday Burnout Conversations. Please check the show notes for any links to items discussed today, and the original music and sound editing is by Chris Taylor. If you've enjoyed this podcast and have a spare few minutes, then it would be absolutely amazing if you could leave me a happy starry rating and review. It really does help this podcast reach a little further, and I'd just love it to land in the lap of those who, like me, last year are perhaps feeling isolated and lonely in their burnout struggle. Please note, this podcast is not intended as medical advice. Remember, you matter, so don't hesitate to reach out to your doctor or mental health professional for support if you're having a rough time. Wishing you a great week and take good care of yourself. Bye for now.